Hello, I'm Lisa Bien. Each time we've met here, we've shared stories of personal struggle and redemption, and shown each other how to bounce back from sadness, self-doubt, and a vast multitude of life's obstacles. Our conversations have been wonderful and full of honesty and learning, but today I want to do things a little differently and address a very specific issue many of you all know all too well. It's a special time here at Temple University. Graduation is nearing. It's an exciting and rewarding time. Seniors reflect on the last several years, recalling the good, the bad, and letting the pride sink in over a job well done. However, some students approach the end of college road with a little less hope than they'd like to admit. Believe it or not, this is part of bouncing back, being prepared for what is to come, and setting yourself up for success when the uncertain is just ahead. Whether you loved your college years or you struggled through them, everyone is at some point plagued by these same very questions and concerns. So here today, we're going to hash it all out, bouncing back from your 20-something growing pains and bouncing forward into an uncertain future. Let's get started. Joining us today are two students gearing up for graduation, Brandon Thompson and Andy Esworthy. Brandon Thompson is a 21-year-old senior public relations major. He serves as the teaching assistant and a heart peer educator at the Wellness Resource Center. Brandon hopes to pursue a career in entertainment marketing or higher education administration. Andy Esworthy is a 22-year-old senior strategic communications major with a focus in public relations. Currently, he serves as the secondary media contact for the Temple University football team, and he also works on the Philadelphia Eagles game day public relations staff. Wow, Andy, pretty impressive already. It seems like you're gearing up for graduation. You guys ready?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Excited?
Yeah.
Ready to get out there and get rocking and rolling.
Really? You're just ready to get out there and no apprehension?
No, yeah, I think classism, with what we're studying, you get a lot more experience out in the field. You learn outside the classroom more than inside the classroom. Obviously, it's beneficial, but I'm ready to just focus my everyday on what I want to pursue in life.
Every day. Now, do you, how about you, Brandon? How do you feel that the classes here, Andy seems to feel that the classes here have prepared him to get out and do what he wants to do?
I definitely think so. Last semester I took my capstone course and we had hands-on experience with public relations and developing a campaign for our desired company of choice, and it really gave me hands-on experience with that. Also having internships in the past was very beneficial.
So you both seem pretty prepared, right? You're ready to there's no apprehension, nervousness. Well, I mean, you just, like the transition from high school to college had to be a little different. Now it's like college to the quote real world, you know?
Well, I was actually talking to someone the other day about that. I know in high school we had our guidance counselors that would help us out and everything and get us prepared for college. And then of course during college we have our advisors in our departments, but they could only get us to a certain point. And I realize now that we have to really step up and like apply everywhere and like apply to scholarships, apply to everything. So it's one of those things where college really helps you for the real world. Temple has done a great job so far.
Yeah, it's definitely scary but exciting at the same time, I would say. I think we've been prepared here at Temple so much that that buffer period, I think, is going to be a little less for us because of how prepared we are. So it's a little nervousness. Obviously, you don't have that structure of wake up, go to class, come home, work. So I think when you're out on your own and you might be relocating, you might be staying in Philly, there's a little bit of nervousness, but it's also exciting at the next time. You're starting your next chapter, and there's great things to come, hopefully, for all of us.
I know that you have a lot going on, Andy. I'm fortunate enough to know you from the university rather well. Share with us today how you definitely have your eye on the prize. We definitely know you know what you want to do. Have you thought about what if? What if I don't get that dream job right out of college? Do you feel prepared for that a little bit, if that is emotional disappointment for you?
I think the older you get and each year you progress throughout college, you kind of get more of a realistic sense of what's going to happen when you come out. So when I was a freshman, I thought, I'm going to get this job right out of college, making money, buy my house, buy a car, go out to eat all the time. And then as you get a little...
I hope you were going to have fine dining.
As you get a little older, you realize like you have to work really hard to get to that dream job. But like, no, I really haven't thought about what if I don't get it. I was fortunate enough, I talked to Danny Pamels, Temple grad. He works over at Comcast Sportsnet now. And the one thing he told me that I really took to heart was don't have a plan B. If you put everything into plan A, you're not going to need plan B. So I really took that to heart and putting all my effort into landing something, because if I don't know what I would do if I didn't. I mean, sure, I could think of something. Temple's prepared me to enter into the workforce, but I just believe if I put everything I have into my first plan and plan A, then I'm going to get something.
So your plan A is to?
I would love to be the director of media relations for an NFL team.
For any NFL team at this point.
I mean, the Eagles. the Eagles would be my all-time favorite. I'm a diehard Eagles fan growing up here in the city, but they have a great staff that's been there for 20 years. So these jobs, that's the tough thing about these jobs is you get them, and then there's no reason to leave. There's not a lot of, they'll hire within. You don't really bounce around from one team to another. Whereas, sales jobs, you might want to sell something else or just move with a different position in the company. With these jobs, you stay a while, so it's tough to kind of crack it.
So what are you doing to map it out? I don't know if I agree 100% of not having a plan B, but that's for we could talk about that later. I'm a big believer in having a little bit of a plan B. But so you're doing what currently?
Currently, like you said, I work for the football team.
I mean, currently, what are you doing to pursue that job? You're going to graduate. What's graduation?
May 15th.
May 15th. So what are you doing now in April?
Okay, so the big thing about the NFL, so the season's from the very end of August to February. It concludes with the Super Bowl. And right after the Super Bowl, a couple weeks after, is the time you need to contact all the NFL teams.
And how did you know that? From doing lots of research?
I would say lots of research, and I've made my way into the business already working with the Eagles, so they're great mentors to talk to and ask them those type of questions of when can I send you something. So yeah, obviously lots of research, lots of looking up team websites, calling. So about a couple weeks after the Super Bowl, I drafted 30 different cover letters, one for each team. There's 32, but I eliminated 2 teams. They weren't hiring, and I knew that. So I did 30 cover letters, personalized for each team, a resume, and then 3 writing samples, and just mailed it to everyone. That's honestly probably the best way to go about it. They're not jobs that are advertised on a Monster or through a school or something. They're kind of word of mouth throughout the NFL. It's a brotherhood, per se. And just was hoping that someone would contact me, and I've been lucky enough to have been contacted by a couple teams.
That's great. It sounds like you have a definite plan A. I just maybe think about what's going to happen if you don't have B. But how about you, Brandon?
Yeah, so I do have a plan A and B. So
okay.
Just a little story. I started out at Temple as a pharmacy major. Yeah. So I have a twin brother, and he was getting into bio-pre-med. So I was like, well, I could do medical as well. So why not do pharmacy? And I knew that pharmacy was, the money was good. But I realized it shouldn't be all about the money. So I switched to public relations, and I realized that's right up my alley. So I started researching about public relations, and I realized that public relations is in everything, pretty much. And I have a passion for, social media and things like that, but I also love entertainment, fashion, things like that. So I had my first internship at Sky Blue Media as the fashion PR intern, and I loved it. But I realized that I don't want to just stick to one thing. So I started looking into other things, and I realized that entertainment is really broad. So I definitely want to work in the entertainment industry. Not really sure where, but I found a love for marketing. I'm taking a marketing class right now through the advertising department here at Temple, and I love that class. It's one night a week, and it's like I wish it was more nights a week. So. But my plan B is actually higher education administration. So someone in the past told me that they'll be like, you're so great. You could probably do student affairs. And I'm like, I don't know about that. But then I found out how broad student affairs is as well. And I realized that they do a lot for people, and like even being here at Temple, these are my connections. These are the people I come in contact with every single day, and they love what they do, and I want to do the same thing. And I was like, why not have a plan B in higher education administration? So I catered my resume to have my media experience on top for my relevant experience when I'm applying to media jobs, and then my higher education experience at the next part for, I think it's related, no, I think it's other experience. And so I'm catering my resume to each job that I apply to.
Somebody helping you guys with your resumes?
Yeah, I actually go to the Career Center in Mitten Hall, and I've been to them plenty of times actually. And then also Patrick Gordon in School of Media and Communications here. I went to him as well.
So your professors are helping you as well and giving you career advice?
Absolutely, and definitely I brought it to people. I brought my resume to people that I would like to emulate. So I brought it to the PR staff on the Eagles. I brought it to Rich Berg here at Temple. He's the assistant athletic director for football communications. So I thought bringing it to people that would be doing the hiring, or the people I want to be when I enter the real world, would be a good first step, because they can say, well, if I was hiring, this is what I look for. I would take that off. So
don't forget to get letters of recommendations. You know, a good network, especially here in Temple, is, you know, your professors are great. So real quick, because we have to wrap it up, what piece of advice would you give to a freshman today? If you could sit down with a freshman, what piece of advice would you have for that freshman to looking back on your college career?
My biggest thing is just go out and explore. I think the best advice I have is go out and explore. The best decision I made in my college career was to study abroad. Studied abroad through Temple, went to London, went to Amsterdam, Barcelona, Scotland, Switzerland.
Wow.
So I think, and now I just have a travel bug, and just going out and explore it like broadens your understanding of life and everything. And it's really, the world's a lot bigger than just Philadelphia and even the United States. We kind of get a little bubbled in here with our Philly ways, but there's just so much more out there. So just go out and explore and experience life.
That's great advice. How about you, Brandon?
I would second that, but I would also say get involved as much as possible on Temple's campus. They have a variety of different things to get involved in. A lot of things pertaining to your major and a lot of things not pertaining to your major. I always recommend people do this. Get involved in at least one or two organizations that involve your major, but then do something you love. I love dancing, so I got involved with a Latin dance group on campus called Esencia Latina. Then I joined PRSSA, Public Relations Student Society of America, and I really learned a lot from both. I learned a lot about myself, and I think being a well-rounded person is really beneficial.
Great. Well, thank you. I think that's great advice. Getting involved, find your passion. We need lots of good advice, and I know I'm going to be hearing about big things from both of you, and I'm counting on some free football tickets for the Super Bowl. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Joining our discussion is Betsy Leebron Tutelman, the Senior Vice Provost for Strategic Communications at Temple University and a professor in the Department of Media Studies and Production in the School of Media and Communication. Professor Tutelman has held a variety of leadership roles at Temple, serving as Senior Vice Provost to the Dean of Students, Faculty Advisor, and Department Chair of Broadcasting, Telecommunications, and Mass Media for more than 10 years. She has been co-teaching the internship course in the department for more than 3 decades and has seen thousands of students graduate and hit the job market. Welcome, Betsy. How are you?
Great.
Thank you for joining us today. So we created a list. You created a really comprehensive list of 10 tips that she thinks are the top 10 tips for interviews. So why don't we go through them really quickly, and then we can go back and you can ask questions if you want. So the first one is review your social media profiles. I love that one for many reasons. Tell me why that was number one for you.
Because today, who you are is really important both in social media and in other aspects of your life. And employers are constantly watching social media profiles to make sure that people that they're interviewing for prospective opportunities fit their profile. So if you have photographs up there that are inappropriate, on your 21st birthday or something like that, make sure to clean up your social media profile because they'll find them.
Great. I always tell my son, and don't put anything on Facebook that you don't want on the front page of the New York Times. Number 2, you have polished your resume and cover letter.
I think it's always important, as they said earlier, to think about what's on your resume, the order in which it's in, update it constantly, look at the titles. I encourage my students who are interns to find out if they can use a title instead of just intern, because you get about 20 to 30 seconds of someone's time when they look at your resume. So you really have to stand out. That means whatever's up top is really important, which is why it's so important to talk about your professional experience or related experience first.
I do have one question though. I run into this a lot. I have students that will come to me and ask me to review their resume. I will then give them my career, my advice, and they say, well, Professor so-and-so said we shouldn't do it that way. What advice would you give to the students when they get a variety of, here's what your resume should look like?
My students and I encounter that all the time, and I say each of us are like different employers or prospective employers. So take that into consideration and synthesize all of the feedback you get and then choose your own approach. I mean, it really has to reflect who you are, but more important than anything is that it has to be grammatically correct and have proper punctuation.
That's for sure. Okay, so number 3, connect with faculty, family, friends, and others to build your network. I think that's a great advice.
I'm a big one on networking. I think that students should really be out there every week meeting people. My own 4 kids who all have Temple degrees, the first thing I told them when they came to college was meet a faculty member every week and ask them for 1 or 2 names of people that you might be able to connect to, because building that network opens doors of opportunity.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Number 4, have at least 2, well, I don't know if I agree with this 100%, have at least 2 informational interviews a week. That's a lot. I mean, is that realistic or is that goal setting? You think it should be 2?
So I think that once you graduate, you should be having 2 informational
okay.
interviews a week. While you're in school, it's a little bit more
Right.
difficult, but if you can have an informational interview every month,
Right.
that's really important. And these interviews open doors, again, of opportunity at places where you have to be very clear. I'm not looking for a job. I just want to sit down with you for 15 minutes and get some advice from you. They can be alumni, they can be professionals that you've met at associations, they can be guest speakers in classes, but people love the idea of giving an informational interview because it means that they're giving you guidance, they're mentoring you, they're opening a door of opportunity.
Well, I teach students, seniors, and I always challenge them to have at least 1 informational interview per semester. So, number 5 is join 1 professional network.
I think, as we've heard earlier, that it's really important for students to be involved. You have to be 3-dimensional. You can't be 1-dimensional or 2-dimensional. And that means going to classes and having internships is important, or they both are important. But I think you have to think about who are you when you're not at work and not at school, and what is it that you contribute to society. So I encourage my students to get involved in nonprofit organizations, to get involved in organizations at Temple, to attend a professional meeting like PRSSA or Broadcast Education Association or Broadcast Pioneers or National Association of Television Programming Executives. The list is long. And it's important for them to avail themselves of who those organizations are in our community and then find out how to go to an event.
That's great advice. Number 6, attend a local regional professional association meetings. So I think we pretty covered that one from there. Number 7, which is one of my favorite, I wish everybody would heed some of this advice. Become a lifelong learner, build your skills, take a course, and complete a certificate.
I think you never stop learning. And as someone who went to school for a number of years to get a PhD, I still will take online classes or participate in lectures and different kinds of programs because every day I'm learning. I learn from my students, I learn from professionals, I learn from the internet, I learn from what I read. But I think that that applies to everyone in our society, that you never stop learning. And part of living is learning. So just because you graduate doesn't mean that you need to stop learning or close the books. And the other thing is I would love, along with the learning, to see young people read more. I know that books aren't really important and that a lot of what happens is now on a digital device, on an electronic device, but I don't want people to lose either the art of reading or the art of communicating face to face.
Well, we could have a whole show on that one, so we'll invite you back. Number 8, it says explore career options to broaden your vision.
So in my class, I use something called the Focus 2, which is a career assessment and personal development assessment tool that the university has through the career services at Temple University. And even though students may do this as freshmen, it's really important to do it again because you change, you evolve as you develop new interests. And my students often say, wow, I never realized that some of these careers could be something that I should look at. So it's a very sophisticated tool that provides some very detailed information about career opportunities based on the information you input. It also gives the students an opportunity to self-reflect and look at areas of need. So in particular, personal development skills, and it could be interpersonal communication, it could be leadership, it could be developing responsibility, it could be developing a stronger shell for accepting criticism. But these are all really important. And then I go through the areas of greatest need and we'll write back to them and say, these are skills that you, or traits that you can work on with your internship supervisor and mentors. And there are some others like better writing, improved interpersonal communication that really are gained through experience. So I encourage them to step out of their comfort zone and write every day. Provide, opportunities for conversations with people you don't know and really get comfortable, because that really is what the job market is about. It's about learning to communicate in a variety of ways and getting people to realize what you have to contribute and how you can be an asset.
That's great. Number 9, I mean, you have a lot of, I'm going to have you come and be a guest lecturer in my class. Number 9, checking with the Center for Student Professional Development or the Career Services. I think, Brandon, did you mention that you had already checked in with them and
Sure did.
They help you with your resume, so that's great. And then number 10, I'm going to skip over 9 really quickly because we can go there, but number 10 is get ready and take time to evaluate yourself and exercise and grooming and clothing. And Betsy and I had spent some time last night talking about this tip because it's really I think it's our personal favorite tip. So,
well, the first thing I think is really important is that when you're a student, you're working really hard. Most of the Temple students also are working part-time or 24 to 30 hours a week. So when you think about it, it's a 60-hour week plus studying. And as you hit your last semester, senior year, one of the most important things I tell them is take stock in who you are and go to your parents or family members or friends and say, you know what, I'm about to graduate. I'm not going to have a vacation probably for 12 more months. I need to find a way to take 3 days off and go somewhere. I encourage them to start saving, even if it's $10 a week, but to find time before you take that full-time job to do something relaxing, exciting, energizing, and different, because that's really important. Along with that comes taking care of yourself. I have always been a big proponent of activity. I mean, I've been working out for my entire life, and I think it's really important that you kind of look in the mirror, look at yourself. The food you eat in the residence halls or fast food you pick up has to kind of disappear from your radar screen as you become...
Andy just put his head down. You didn't see him.
We were talking before how I just eat out all the time. So
as you become a working adult, I think it's important, part of what infuses energy and enthusiasm and just gives you kind of that zest for who you are is what you eat, how you exercise, how you see yourself. So first, what you eat. I live sort of a vegetarian diet with fish allowed, and I've encouraged my own kids and my students to sort of think about foods that create energy as opposed to foods that zap energy. So sugar has to come off the list. So sorry, but when sometimes you walk in residence halls and dining halls, you'll see 50 cereals, and the more color, the more sugar. All of those should go out the window in favor of probably a healthier breakfast. It can be grains, oats, fruit, cottage cheese. I'm not a big fan of gluten because I also think that tires you out. So I think as you start to look at moving into a longer work day, a different kind of work day where it's important for you to have energy and not, that 3 o'clock, I need a piece of chocolate or a cup of coffee. How can you sustain it?
She looks at me as she said, because she knows how much coffee I drink.
I try to have just 1 cup of coffee a day. I mean, it's all in moderation. Sugar, sodas, those kinds of things out.
Great.
And I really encourage people also, even if you don't have time to exercise, I get up really early to do my exercise routine, but take a walk, get up from your desk. Nothing frustrates me more than to work in an environment, and I hear this all the time, that people stay at their computer and email people. So move around, get exercise.
Well, this has been great. I'm sure you guys have learned a lot. I have. Now it's motivated me to go back to the gym. So I just want to thank you so much, Betsy. Your tips were terrific. And Brandon, I wish you the best. I know you're going to be very successful. And Andy, Super Bowl tickets are in my future, right? Super Bowl tickets.
50-yard line.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And we'll be right back. Today we met and talked with two Temple seniors. Despite their different experiences here at Temple, they are both feeling the stress, nerves, and growing pains before stepping out into the world. The truth is that this is something we will all go through at some point or another, in college or in other challenging situations. The lesson here is to be accepting of ourselves, of others, and the variety of circumstances each individual endures. We never truly know what somebody else is going through until we open ourselves up to the conversation. Bouncing back from life's challenges offers us opportunities to spring forward into a life we could have never imagined at our lowest points. Maybe today wasn't your best, maybe college wasn't as great as you thought it would be, but that doesn't mean that tomorrow can't be extraordinary and filled with possibilities beyond our wildest dreams. So if it's a stressful time, heed the advice of our guest today. Take stock of the positives. Get the tools you need to think and get in touch with the people that can help you. Keep up that positive self-talk. It takes time, but it's truly the only way to ensure success in bouncing back. Thanks for joining us here today. All of us here on the Bouncing Back team are here for you, and we're wishing you all the best. Happy graduation, and remember, the world is yours. See you next time.